This is my review on episode 5 of Rick and Morty, season 1. So, in this episode, this one comes across as more. Is as sick and as dark as the past was, so somehow worse in terms of being dark and twisted and sick. But this is when at this point the tone of this, I don't know, what something about this episode feels a little different between the other to the prior episode. It's like it feels like it's more focused on setting up the world of Rick and Morty that will come to that unravels throughout the future episodes of the series. And so there's some world building in this episode, but also has more of a narrative structure. Like this, how it tells a story, like a sort of like it feels. You know how a lot of people I don't know about this. People that complain about Rick and Morty being more serialized in those later episodes, and I noticed that's when it seemed to start with this episode, when the episode started to feel serialized. Was episode 5 of season 1 of Rick and Morty. Like this is to me was when it started like feeling like a bit ambitious and like felt like it was saying up more stuff, more stories in the bigger world than what they previously have shown from the series. In like in Rick says wubble over dub dub, which in later episode we're gonna find out what that means. It means I am in great pain in a different language, apparently. And that's when Rick comes up with his catchphrase wubble over dub dub at the final scene of the episode. After a bunch of insanity unravels, and the house inside out is completely the inside the house completely destroyed, thanks to Rick's inventions. That they're basically clones of the invention. The invention what he does gave Bess, Summers, and Jerry of a family, while Rick goes off to hang with Morty on a pointless, selfish, stupid adventure. And this time, Morty's calling the shots on this adventure and has to win a bet or lose a bet with Rick. And if he wins the bet, he gets to control every 10 adventures they go on every now and then. And gets to be the dictator of the adventure, and one comes up with it, while Rick is the sidekick. And Rick doesn't like that. And if Rick wins and Morty's plan fails of the bet, then Morty needs to shut up and stop complaining about the adventures he goes on, because he can't do it better than Rick. Well, that's good. So Rick, in the other episode, constantly tries to find a reason to hate the adventure and brings up the stupidest excuses, and trying to convince Morty that his idea is stupid and can't think of anything good. You know, that's a good venture. And yes, things constantly proving Rick right, and Morty is winning the bet. Until Morty almost gets raped by a jelly bean. A human-sized jelly bean. That we find out later in the episode is royalty and is the king of the land that they decide to go on the quest for the poor people of that land. He doesn't succeed at raping Morty in the bathroom, but he was pretty close until Morty decides to beat the shit out of him with the toilet seat and punch him really hard. And Morty's just traumatized and wants to go home and tells Rick completely like, say, you're right, this was a terrible idea. You win the bet. I give up. I just want to go home. He's all traumatized. And Rick kind of puts two and two together when he sees the beat up Jelly Bean coming out of the bathroom. And Rick plays along, says, okay, well, let's plays along and pretends like, plays along and doesn't really tell Morty that he figured out what's going on. And Rick decides to continue Morty's adventure and give it a happy ending with the adventure. And that's when we find out, after they succeed with the adventure, is that when we find out that this asshole is a royal king of the land. Then two people found these pictures of Morty trying to be of Morty and supposedly the King Jellybean that got murdered by Rick with the portal gun after the escape with the portal gun before the King Jellybean sees them in plain sight and goes home. And two people find out the true nature of King Jellybean, that he's a sick prick and is child molester, apparently, try to molest Morty. And so two people see the pictures, and one of them decides to come up with this brilliant idea that I'm sure won't backfire on Morty and Rick and future episodes. That's sarcasm. And burn the pictures, the evidence. I think it's better that way, so people don't know what his true nature was, but just remember him as as his legacy gave. And so Morty and Rick ride back home. The house is totaled, and they want to know, and Rick says, what the fuck happened? And Bess explains that this is all his fault. Rick's fault for giving that invention to them. Because Jerry couldn't make 2 strikes on his golfing. Rick doesn't really see it as his fault. He's completely doesn't think that's his fault exactly, which to be fair is more of Jerry's fault for being shitty at golf. And he's got a point there. Rick does. And that's what Rick basically says to Bass and Jerry. And yeah, Summer's probably in bed in this episode by now, because Bess and Summers were trying to make themselves do something to make themselves fit whole, and best thing Jerry could think of is to get 2 strikes in golfing, and because he wanted to do something simple. He just can't do that simple task. So the clones that were supposed to help Jerry fulfill that task, that simple task that work and then poof away and die, couldn't do that. So they keep on cloning one after one until there's billions of them in the room, or dozens. I don't know how many. I don't know how many there's. Enough to lose track. And they still can't help Jerry, and he wants to ditch them and go on the date with his wife. And that's when that's when the oldest one of the clone decides to get the idea after being alive for 2 days, with Jerry being a useless piece of shit and can't do anything right, so they can just pop and die. Decide and gather all of the clones around Jerry to hunt him down and kill him brutally. And they start breaking into the restaurant, taking hostages. When the Bess and Jerry are in the middle of talking on a date and talking about something important about their relationship. And that's when things go loose. And Rick and Morty missed the whole thing, all the action. And, they're busy on the quest. They're all doing their own thing of adventure. And, so they run right into the freezer at the restaurant, in the kitchen, and lock themselves in there and deciding. And then Bess decides to give the idea of showing Jerry some affection, some encouragement, and getting him to do the 2 golf shots within the restaurant. And that's how they all poof away and die. And everyone's safe and happy as a happy ending. Although Jerry and Bess have to stay. Jerry and Bess Jerry and his wife basically have to stay behind to answer questions for the police to explain everything. Jerry's completely okay with that because, his marriage is doing better, supposedly, it looks like. His failing marriage. That gets explored in the next episode of episode 6 more on. So the episode ends with them all beat up and exhausted and meet home. And that's when Rick kind of says his new catchphrase, wubba dub dub, and breaks the fourth wall and says, "See you next week." So basically, Rick's now aware that he's a cartoon character in a show on Adult Swim. And Adult Swim, I think that came up with this. Yeah, so I was just telling myself that's not relevant to the show. Yeah, I give back to what I was saying. I give this episode a 10 out of 10, and I really like this. This is amazing episode. And subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, and goodbye.